Kevin Samuels' death confirmed. Relationship expert dies at 56 years old. Reliable sources confirm that YouTube sensation and relationship guru Kevin Samuels has passed away. Samuels was known for dating advice and thought-provoking YouTube videos where he operated under the title of an image consultant. Rumors regarding his death began circulating on Twitter and other social media outlets earlier this evening, leading to an online battle between Samuel's fans and his critics. Those who have found fellowship in the influencer's ideology accused his many critics of celebrating his death. Kevin Samuels told mediocre women to shoot in their range and to stop looking for high-value men and find men on their own level. Due to this advice, many of those women have wanted Samuels dead for his truthful and honest comments. One user wrote, for example. A young woman shot back and said, "I don't believe Kevin Samuels is dead, for the record. But me not feeling bad if he is, doesn't mean I'm celebrating his demise. He went out of his way to be cruel to us women. We are not required to mourn for him and show virtues he didn't show." She further accused Samuel and advised that asking black women, of all people, to show grief for his passing is crazy. Further details surrounding his cause of death have yet to be revealed. But there are rumors that he had died from a heart attack in his apartment and that medical staff found him unresponsive and declared him dead when they arrived on the scene. Many around the world are mourning the passing of a great figure within the black community. Although at times controversial, he did stand up for the rights and the empowerment of black men, a value that many black women have also celebrated concerning Kevin Samuels. Some of his most popular videos include "How much do you cost to submit?" and "Modern women are average at best?" Just recently he sparked outrage on social media after he said unmarried women who are 35 years old and over are considered leftover women. Kevin Samuels said, "If you live to 35 and you're not married, you're a leftover woman. You're leftover." Wise and high-value men know you may have a problem, he said. "Whether you want to hear it or not, I'll go with you. I'm telling you the truth, you don't want to hear." Although Samuels himself was twice divorced with an alleged single status, he never shied away from speaking his mind when it came to relationship topics. Although Samuels was not formally a leader in the church, he had great interest in the role that the church played in the lives of black men and women and encouraged women to follow biblical principles of marriage even if they were not Christian, because he felt that female submission made women more attractive.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching this video.
Hello and God bless. My name is Neville Solomon and welcome to VC TV. Today we're going to be talking about the controversial figure Kevin Samuels. A lot of people have heard about Kevin Samuels and some of you may have not heard about him, but for those of you who've heard about him, he's a quite controversial figure. On one hand, a lot of people dislike him. On another hand, a lot of people really do like him, and there's not too many people there in the middle. And if they are in the middle, they probably don't really know much about him. So today, I just wanted to welcome all of you who are on the live stream and welcome all of you who are watching this in the replay. I would love to get some feedback from you as it relates to Kevin Samuels. The first question I'll ask is, have you ever heard about Kevin Samuels? Like, do you know who this individual is? And what are some of your thoughts about him? So feel free to write that in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And I'm just trying to engage with our audience to kind of just see your thoughts and to see, your reflection on this particular individual. Something that I kind of learned from watching this is, I think that all of us, we have to live our life having a plan as it relates to what kind of legacy do we want to leave in this world. You know, sometimes we're thinking about the here and now, but I think it's an excellent idea to think beyond just the here and now and to look to our future. So we're going to be talking about Kevin Samuels, looking at his legacy, looking at your thoughts on this particular individual, and just wanted to just hear your voice and to share some of my thoughts on this particular situation. But before we move into the conversation, just wanted to say hello and welcome to a few of the people that are here in our live stream. Wanted to say hello and God bless to Wellness with Frugal Mama. Great having you in our live stream today. God bless. Hoping that I can share some wisdom and hoping that you can just share some thoughts if you feel like it. And happy to have you here today. Also, we have Destiny O, who is saying, hello, man of God. And I'm so thankful to be able to see you again, to spend some time with you. I usually don't come out on Friday nights. Usually we meet on Sunday evenings, but I figure that, there's so much controversy on this particular issue. A few people have actually talked to me about it. So I figured, why wouldn't I come on and just talk about this whole situation with this particular individual named Kevin Samuels. And I also see that Pastor God's Power is here as well. Hello, it's wonderful having you here this evening, sir. And just having a discussion. Would love to hear your thoughts and to hear everyone's thoughts on this particular topic. And for those of you who are in the replay, would love to hear from you as well. Today, I'm going to be talking about this topic, but I'm talking about it from a different angle because I'm just going to share my personal views, and maybe you agree or maybe you don't agree. But I just wanted to kind of share my particular views on this individual. So we got a comment here from Wellness with Frugal Mama. I hadn't heard much about him prior to today. I saw someone reacting to one of his videos, I believe. He is actually a really, really popular YouTuber. A lot of people seem to be watching his videos. So, and I think a part of the reason why they watch his videos is because on one part, they're very controversial. And on the other part, he has a lot of truth in what he says, but he also says it in a very offensive way. So a lot of people are offended by the things that he says. But on the other hand, a lot of things that he says have a lot of truth in it. So we can talk about, I don't even know where to take it from. I guess we could talk about some of the truth that he says, and then we can talk about some of the controversy in the ways that he says it. So it's such a blessing to see everyone that's here, and I'm happy to just have you in the show today. His word, he shared that, yes, I know Kevin Samuels. Yes, he is a pretty popular figure on YouTube, especially as it relates to relationships, dating, marriage, because he gives a lot of advice, primarily to women. He gives a lot of advice to young women as it relates to getting married. And the thing that makes him controversial is that a lot of his principles are biblical, but the way that he shares it, I would say, is probably not biblical. It's probably not the kindest way to talk to people. So he is a very, very controversial figure, as his word had just shared. He's a very controversial figure. So I'm going to talk about some of the principles that he has that I think are pretty good. So some of the principles that he has is that he teaches that even though I don't think that he is an advocate of following the Bible 100%, he purports to be a Christian, and he teaches and promotes Christian values as it relates to relationships. So he was saying that the Bible teaches that there is a certain way that women are, and there's a certain way that men are. And that's true. There are differences between men and women. Women are strong, just like men are strong. Women are intelligent, just like men are intelligent, but there are some differences. For the main part, men are very, very centered on having respect. So even when men relate with one another, if you really want to have a good friendship, or you want to have, a positive environment, male to male, there is an environment of respect. Like, there needs to be a high level of respect. So when men are close friends, they generally have high respect for each other. If you have a friend and you're male and he does not have respect for you, if you discover it over time, naturally you feel like kind of withdrawing from that person. Now, I'm not saying that women don't have a strong desire for respect, because obviously women would like to be respected as well. But when I'm talking about respect, I'm talking about in terms of like being seen as an authority or being seen as somebody who's important. Significance is very, very important to men. Also important to women, but in a different way. Women, they like to have friendships that are intimate. They like to have friendships where you love one another, where you really, really care for each other. And as a male, obviously you would like for your friends to care for you as well. But if I had a choice between my best friend, a male friend, having respect for me and loving me and caring about me in a deep sense, I would pick respect. And a lot of men would pick that. Not every man, but a lot of men would pick that. So Kevin Samuels will pick out things like this, and he'll give advice saying that men really, really desire to have respect. And he'll say that a man who loves a woman will try to provide for her needs and will care for her. But he sees a shift in our culture where a lot of women are desiring for the care, but they're not understanding that there needs to be some respect as it relates to just dealing with your partner. So he'll go through some of these philosophies, and most of the philosophies, I think a lot of people on his show would agree with. I think a lot of people, in the world would agree with. Like there are some people that would say, I don't agree because, men don't deserve respect or men don't want respect. But if you talk to a lot of men, they probably do want respect. If you talk to a lot of women, there might be some women that say, women don't need love. They can love themselves and so forth. But for the most part, there's a lot of women that would say, yeah, I would like for someone to love me. And that's what I want in life. So when it comes to these basics, he was pretty decent in talking about the basics. But I think where the problem came in, it was the way that he did it. Instead of teaching to enlighten or teaching to empower people, he oftentimes led them down a road to teach them to shame them. And I believe in his mind, he felt that through the shaming of the person, he would enlighten them. So for example, he would ask a woman, what kind of man do you want? And the woman would say, I want to have a man who's rich. I want to have a man who's powerful. I want to have a man that I don't have to go to work. I want to have a man that will take care of all of my needs. So in the regular counseling, you would say to a person, okay, these are the things that you want. Then what do you bring to the table? That's kind of how a person would like introduce it in regular counseling. But what he did is that he would say something like, why do you think a guy like that should be with you? And then the person would give reasons why. They would say, oh, because I work or whatever. Well, you're going to quit your job and you're going to be unemployed. So why should he be with you? And they say, well, because I'm a nice person, da, 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 da. So he said, well, there's a lot of nice people out there. So why should he be with you? Oh, because I have a lot to offer. And then he would say to them, like, from a scale of 1 to 10, how pretty do you think you are? And he said, you can't use the number 7 because I guess most ladies would classify themselves to be number 7. So then generally speaking, women are trying to be humble. They'll put themselves maybe at a 6, maybe even a 5. But once in a while, you have a woman that would say she's an 8 or a 9. And then he would say to them, do you think that you're as pretty as ladies in Hollywood? They would say no. So he says that you're lying. You're not a 9. You're not an 8. At best, you're a 5, or at best, you're a 4. So now this puts shame into women's lives. But I think what he was trying to do, he was trying to shame people to get them to begin to open up their mind and have more options. But in the shaming, he created a lot of enemies. So before we kind of go a little bit more into this, I would just ask in the question, do you know Kevin Samuels? We've gotten some answers so far where people have said, nope, never heard of him. And we've gotten some answers, yes, we have heard of him. And for those of you who have heard of him, you kind of put some comments saying that he's a controversial figure. He's a person that, can rub you the wrong way. And for a lot of other people, if you're honest, there are a lot of people who actually really, really like him and feel like he has helped them to, become more enlightened. But before I continue in this subject matter, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. If you can just press the like button, I would appreciate it 100%. And we just want to continue this conversation. So feel free to share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you on this particular situation. For those of us who have heard of Kevin Samuels, it's a shocking thing to hear that he's passed and that he's died. I think he just did a show, if not last night, or sorry, if not 2 nights ago, I think maybe just very recently. And then last night he passed. So that is an unfortunate thing to hear, but he is a very, very controversial figure. But before I continue talking, just want to say thank you so much for being here. And I wanted to just greet Inspirational by Marie. It is great having you here. We'd love to hear from you in terms of because I know that you have a lot of relational advice. You give it to people in a way that is positive, in a way that is life-giving, a little bit different than how Kevin Samuels gives it. So we'd love to hear from you, whether that is live or just if you typed a comment, that'd be great. But I just wanted to kind of, as a matter of fact, I'd open that up to others as well, because if you had any comments or any thoughts that you wanted to share, feel free to share it. We'd love to hear from you on this subject. And if you'd like to actually come on live and talk with us, we'd love to hear from you too, because we're just talking about the legacy of Kevin Samuels, not just for his sake, but for our sake as well, because what kind of legacy are you building? A lot of times we're kind of just living day to day, but we're not thinking about the broader context. We're not thinking about the bigger picture. But we're going to be talking about his legacy and maybe even our legacy if you're up for that. So I am going to try to put out a link to allow you to come on in if you'd like to, or if you just want to type a comment, we'd love to hear from you as well. So before I move on, just want to get some more thoughts. So Inspiration Marie said that she was shocked about what happened in this particular situation, because I was pretty shocked as well. I was, the way how I heard about it is I was at home sleeping, got up at night, got some water, said, let me, you know, maybe turn some, turn something on YouTube to kind of put me back to bed. And when I turned it on, I saw everywhere how Kevin Samuels had passed. And knowing him and knowing how controversial he is, I kind of looked into it a little bit more and saw that there were a lot of people that were saddened because he had inspired them to have a bigger thought about themselves. And there were a lot of people who were mad because he had shamed them and probably caused them to have a smaller thought about themselves. But either way, he really, really had an impact on people, many times not in a positive way. But and his word just shared that it was really sudden in terms of what had happened to him. And Wellness with Frugal Mama says, I don't think that making disparaging comments about anyone is a way to enlighten or motivate them. But clearly he was popular. And you know what? I don't really want to simplify it either, because I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Because it wasn't like he was just insulting people for just to insult them. I think all of us, we have some negative aspects to us. And not many people draw out those negative aspects and then point them out to us. So it wasn't like he was just shaming people or calling people names. It was like he was displaying some negative attributes in people so that they could see it themselves, and then he was pointing it out. Because to me, if you're a woman, and I'll touch the men as well, but if you're a woman and all you're looking for is a man's pocketbook, and you're gonna say this on, like on YouTube to the world, I think that is immoral and it's wrong. And Kevin Samuels, instead of just saying it's immoral and it's wrong, he would shame people. But I think the shame wasn't just for shame's sake. It was shame because there's a lot of behaviors that are in us that are not good. And as a preacher or as a Christian, we may pull out those behaviors, but we pull it out in a very merciful and loving way, because it's evil to love a man just for his money. It's evil to have a plan to be in a relationship and not have anything to contribute. Like, that's evil. But as a preacher, I probably wouldn't say that to people in that way. I would say to people, okay, what do you bring to the table? And they may not have anything. I say, okay, what can you bring to the table? They might have some suggestions. And then you would encourage them to broaden that. Because how can you expect someone to invest so much in you when you invest so little in them? That's a nice way of saying it. With him, it wasn't like he was just embarrassing people. He was pointing out, for lack of a better word, evil that was in people and showing them that some of their motives are not right. But he did it in a very raw, in a very harsh way. But I think the reason why some people liked him is because, especially when you're a nice person, you get tired of people being evil. And no matter how you say it to them in all these different ways, they don't get it. But the thing that I think Kevin Samuels and even many of his viewers miss is that even when you say things to people in a mean way, if they don't want to get the truth, they're not going to get the truth whether you say it to them nice, and they're not going to get the truth whether you say it to them meanly. And all you're going to really get if you say things to people in a mean way is they're going to hate you. And I think that some of the things that he said, makes you think. I think that the reason why a lot of guys liked him, and not all guys, because a lot of guys disliked him too, but I think the reason why some guys liked him is because he got you to recognize that there is worth in you. And the reason why some women didn't like him is because he probably made some women feel like they were worth less than what they perceived themselves to be worth, which to me, I don't think is helpful, because we live in a world where everyone is being attacked, especially women. And the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to pull away the confidence from a woman who's beautiful, because we all have faults and we all have things we struggle with. And we all need advice that will help us to see things clearer. But in the clarity of the vision, there needs to be an uplifting. There's a lot I can say about this subject matter, and I'd love to hear from you, because I know that this is a very, very controversial situation, a very, very controversial conversation. But to me, there are a lot of good things about him. There are a lot of bad things about him. But I think the thing that stood out to me the most was his legacy. That's the thing that really stood out to me the most, because he died in a way that I wouldn't want to die. I wouldn't want to die shaming people. I wouldn't want to die having people hate me for a just cause. Not hating me because I helped them, but hating me because I shamed them. Like, to me, I think that popularity rises very quickly when you're negative. It rises very quickly when you are thought-provoking. It rises very quickly when you shame people, because nobody likes to be shamed, but there's a whole lot of people in the world that like to see people get shamed. So you can get popular in many, many different ways. I think that when you're on YouTube, a lot of people are looking for hits. They're looking for the next big thing. So you can say a lot of shocking and a lot of crazy stuff, and it will catch people's attention. Even now, if I start talking like I'm a crazy man, or I start talking like Kevin Samuels, I'd probably get a lot of people watching this video. But I'm starting to recognize that my legacy is more important than my likes. My legacy is more important than my likes. My submission to God is more important than my subscribers. And it's hard when you're trying to give people direction, and when you're trying to use a Socratic method and pull out of people an understanding that they need to change and understand that they need to grow. And when you're positive, people have a tendency not to pay attention. But at the same time, I think that if someone won't listen to you under the power of God's Spirit, then they're definitely not going to listen to you if you are harsh with them. And at the end of the day, I got a comment here from Inspirational Marie. May you rest in peace. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things I like about Kevin Samuels, because he came with a different perspective, and he allowed you to see the world in a different way. Because I find that a lot of people in this world are very, very negative, but their negativity is not centered on themselves. A lot of time, the negativity is centered on those that are outside of them. So, for example, you can have a young lady could have a wonderful man. The man loves God. The man makes a lot of money. The man is very, very helpful. The man has a good spirit. But because she is full of pride and full of herself, she disrespects him, and she wants something better than that. Oh, he only makes $300,000. I want a guy that makes $1 million. And in fairness, there's a lot of guys that are superficial as well. And, they have a beautiful wife who's faithful, who's kind, who's considerate, who cares about them, who invests in them, but they want a girl that's prettier. Well, first of all, if you marry the person, you thought they were pretty, but there's this thing in our culture where people are so superficial that they're looking for things that don't really matter. If a guy makes $300,000, or $100,000 or even $50,000. He's making enough money to feed you and to support you and to help you. If a woman, you know what I mean, is beautiful, she may not look like a person on television, but clearly she's beautiful, or you wouldn't have married her, you wouldn't even looked at her. Appreciate her beauty and stop looking out throughout the world trying to find something better. We live in a world where both men and women are not wise as it relates to relationships, and they're not honest either. And I think the thing with Kevin Samuels is that he was able to identify dishonest people and to out them. The only thing that made it unfair or made it difficult to swallow was that he was only doing it with women and he wasn't doing it with men, because clearly men have that issue too. I think Kevin Samuels' argument would be that everybody does it with men. That men are oftentimes bombarded by interviewers and by counselors and by preachers, and they're constantly attacking men and causing them to look at their real selves. So he probably felt that because of the imbalance, he wanted to be that person that makes a balance in the world. But at the end of the day, I think that sometimes when you're imbalanced, either way, imbalanced towards attacking men or imbalanced towards attacking women, when you're imbalanced, you actually begin to develop abusive environments where people will use that information not to build themselves up or not to help somebody else, but to hurt somebody. And I think that it's a very, very challenging and a very, very tough situation in terms of just dealing with relationships and being a young person today. The one thing I would say that I do appreciate about Kevin Samuels, I didn't appreciate how he treated a lot of his guests and a lot of ladies that he spoke to. But the one thing I could say that I did appreciate about him is that he caused the viewer to rethink themselves. Imagine that you are someone's son. You come from a ghettoized area or someplace in poverty. You go to university. You build yourself up. You're respected amongst your peers. You're respected in your family. You go and you work, and you're working and you're making good money, and you have a good life. And then you find some girl, you know what I mean? Maybe they're making as much money as you are, but you find some girl in complete disrespect toward you. And you accept that? What I like about Kevin Samuels is that he taught men don't accept it. But I think that it's not just for men. I think it's also for women. If you're a woman and you're single and you're with a guy who does not appreciate you, who does not recognize the queen that is in you, drop him. And I think the wonderful thing about the principle of Kevin Samuels is that he teaches people to observe and to recognize the evil in other people, and to recognize, don't let that be your life. And I think that's good. But when you have somebody who comes to you for help, even if they're misguided, it's not your job to show them that they're misguided and then to let them know that they have no destiny. And you just drop them and you get ratings. It's your job to let people see you are misguided. And you may not change your mind, but I will at least give you information to cause you to change your mind. I remember I was watching one show one time that Kevin Samuels had, and this just to kind of share something, because some people said they haven't watched the show, and I think some of the things he does are crude, and I don't think that it's Christian in terms of his concepts and his behavior. He oftentimes would equate things with Christianity, but I don't think that his content is Christian content. I think his content is secular content and sometimes even crude content. But the one thing I can say that I've learned from him is that there is a spirit of pride within the Western world, within Europe, within America, within Australia, within the Netherlands, and around the world, there's a spirit of pride. And because people are full with pride, they have an incorrect perception of themselves. And because they have an incorrect perception of themselves, they think they're great. But when you're outside of them and you look at them and you can observe them as a outside observer, you're not in a relationship with them, you can just watch them, you can see that they're completely lost and that they have a whole bunch of problems and they need to fix themselves. So there are a lot of people that are out there that they need help. They need to fix themselves. And because of this, they come into contact with other people who may be struggling or who just may be just humble people. And they come with that narcissistic spirit and they destroy people's lives. And they think, after they destroy somebody's life, they think the person that they were with was below them, was beneath them. No, the person that you were with, you didn't qualify for them. And God gave you mercy and gave you someone that was good, and you abused them. But the thing that I would say is, this is not a gender situation. You have males that are very abusive and that are narcissistic and full of themselves. And you have females that are very abusive and narcissistic and full of themselves. And both groups of these people, they hunt out humble, kind, and productive people. So Kevin Samuel's concept of kind of guarding high value men, or whatever he wants to call it, to me, it doesn't work because men that are really good are oftentimes surrounded by women that are not that good. And women that are really good are oftentimes surrounded and approached by men that are not that good. The goal is for us to see who we really are, to understand our strengths, to understand our weaknesses. But as we begin to understand those things about ourselves, we begin to build up our strengths, build up our weaknesses, and we become a whole person, and we find somebody else who's whole. And when two whole people come together, they recognize, okay, I have faults, you have faults, well, let's work together. And you're able to work with each other because you're reasonable. But here's the thing, when you're with a narcissist, whether the narcissist, what do you call it, is a woman, or whether the narcissist is a man, pain is going to come. And it's hard to say, but I'm just going to be straight up. A lot of the people that came on to Kevin Samuel's show were narcissists. They were full of themselves, and they lacked an understanding of the other. And because he had these kinds of people, it was very easy to expose them, and it was very easy to demonstrate to the viewer that these people are not whole. But the problem, I feel, is in the way that he did it, because I don't think most of the people that he talked to after they came off the phone with him or came off the line with him, I don't think that they went and got help or that they went and worked on themselves. I think that they got angry, hated him, and probably became more bitter against the other gender. So let's just look at a few comments that we have here, and we can take it from there. So his word was just sharing. He said, that's right. His message wasn't balanced. And I think a child of God shouldn't do that. And I agree 100%, because I think the challenge in being a Christian is that true Christians, I'm not talking about popular people who say they're Christians. True Christians are balanced people. But we live in a world where balance oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes balance doesn't get hits. Balance doesn't get views. Balance doesn't get noticed. So if you continue to be a balanced person, you will have a good life, and you'll have a life that's steady. You'll have emotions that you can control. You'll have a destiny, that's moving forward. But sometimes you don't get a lot of attention. So then what happens is you have to make a choice. Do I just increase my energy, increase my output, increase my work in balance, and just help as many people as I can help? Understanding that there's a possibility that I will never be popular. There's a possibility that I will never achieve something, that's grandiose or whatever. Do I continue to be that, or do I begin to look to the left and to the right for sides to become imbalanced? Because when you're imbalanced and you're either radically negative, or you're imbalanced and you're radically positive, people like that. But when you are in the middle, or when you are a person who is able to talk about the blessings of God, but also talk about the curses of God. When you're balanced like that, it's very, very hard to capture an audience. It's very, very hard to be progressive. In fairness, Jesus Christ was very balanced, and he was very popular, and he was very effective. And maybe along with balance, we also need to have a deep and intimate relationship with God, because when I look at it, probably it wasn't the balance just of Jesus that approached people and touched people, but probably it was that intimacy that he had with God. Because when you see Jesus and you see, you know, that passion that he has for life and that passion that he has with God, I believe that that instance draws people to God. So at the end of the day, I don't think that our goal should be for fame, or our goal should be for imbalance, or even that our ultimate goal should be for balance, because I think the balanced life is what God has designed. But I think along with having the balanced life, we also need to have an anointing or a connection with God. We need to have unity with God. When I'm united with God and you're united with God, then automatically we become united with each other. And a lot of times what people are trying to do is that they're trying to unite with other people, not recognizing that the person we're trying to unite with is not balanced. So if I come and I connect myself to a narcissist, it's going to impact me negatively. If you, no matter how beautiful you are, no matter how much of a queen you are, if you connect with a man who is imbalanced, a man who is negative, a man who is abusive, it's going to have a negative effect on you no matter how good you are. So the key to life is for us to be unified and connected to God, because when you're unified and connected to God and you're growing with him, then God can begin to reveal to you life and reveal to you things about life. And sometimes we love God and we have an understanding of him, but we don't have the understanding of the nature of other people. And I think it's very important as we grow spiritually that we need to have a better and stronger understanding of the nature of people, not because we want to judge them, but because we want to be able to work with them. A person who loves God, who really loves God, and if you love God, it should be easy for you to work with each other. If for some reason you can't work with each other, then there's a high chance that one of you or both of you don't really love God. And then there are differences in personality and so forth. But I think that when you're balanced, it's easier to get along with people, even when they have a different personality than yourself. Before I continue, just wanted to welcome Power of Prayer Ministries. It's wonderful having you here. Thank you so much for being here. We're talking about the controversial figure, Kevin Samuels, who died last night. He is a well-known YouTuber that talks primarily about relationships. But the conversation we're having here today is that a lot of times it seems like his conversation about relationships are imbalanced. They're not balanced. But the one thing I do appreciate about him that I think that we do need to have more of in the church is that we have a tendency to see the good that's in people. We have the tendency to even encourage people to work on their strengths, but we oftentimes do not work on correction. We do not work on allowing people to see the faults that are in them. I'm not saying to shame people or to preach bad about people. I'm just saying that we need to be able to examine ourselves and to see whether we're in the faith. And so many people just presuppose that they're in the faith and they don't even examine themselves. And an unexamined life oftentimes is a narcissistic life. So many of us who are on this line, so many of us who are in the replay, we have days where we sit down, we think to ourselves, am I really right? You know, because sometimes I feel like anger inside when I shouldn't be angry. Or sometimes I feel like I'm not following God 100%. Or sometimes I feel like my prayer life is not right. We're calling into question whether there's something that needs to be fixed or something that needs to be worked on, or we're praying to God to empower us, to help us to grow. People who are praying to grow, at the heart, there's humility there because you understand that you're not perfect. But when you're dealing with people who think that they're perfect, they're always looking outside of themselves to see what's wrong with the other people. And the one thing I do appreciate about Kevin Samuels is that he causes people to call into question, are they really as good as they think they are? Do they deserve all that they really believe that they do deserve? There's so many people that think that, so many people that say they're Christians and they're demanding God to do things in their life. And if they were to examine their life, they would see that they do nothing for God. And because they do nothing for God, by right, God should do nothing for them. But instead of being grateful for the little that he does, they're angry and say, God, you owe me. Imbalance. One of the biggest problems we have, because we're living in a world of fame. And to acquire fame, oftentimes, you have to have imbalance. The only other way to get fame outside of having imbalance is to get the grace of God. It's for God to grace you with divine abilities to be able to use every gift that you have, helping people. And in the midst of helping people, you get a great name like Abraham. Abraham was a simple man, wasn't looking to be famous. He had a humble life, but because the anointing of God was on him and he had a covenant with God, his name was made great. So I'm not against us having greatness. I'm not against God working in our life, because God, he's always there to work in our life. He's always there to empower us. He's always there to work in our life and to help us. But there's a part of following God that requires correction, that requires growth. You see, growth is not always easy. There's something called growing pains. And growing pains happen for those who have made up their mind that I'm going to change the life that I live and become better. The Christian life is not a life that you just maintain. It's a life where you increase and you get better. But the only way that you can get better is for you to recognize your strengths and to work on them, and to recognize your weaknesses and to work on them, and to be able to see strengths in other people and to be able to see weaknesses in other people and to celebrate people's strengths and to have a spirit of encouragement to encourage people to overcome their weakness. So one of the main things I want to talk about, I'm talking about today as it relates to Kevin Samuel, is that he put a mark on me as it relates to legacy. Because what is our legacy? His legacy was bringing ladies on camera, insulting them, causing the audience to learn a lesson that, hey, there's some things in this woman that need to be changed. But she herself oftentimes didn't receive the lesson. One of the things I learned from him is he showed me through people that you have to re-examine yourself. And you have to ask yourself some questions. You see, the narcissist never believes that he's a narcissist. And the only way you can know that you're not a narcissist is to consider the fact, could you be one? What do? They always talk about themselves. How much do I talk about myself? Most of us don't really take time to actually think about that or to examine that. But when you begin to examine it, you say, you know what? I do talk about myself a little bit. How much do I talk about others? But I do focus on the welfare of others, and I do talk about others. So we need to understand when there's an imbalance and to notice it and to correct it. And we need to also understand when there's a balance and to continue down that balanced road and to care for other people and to trust in other people. Because the world that we're living in is so filled with positive people, and the world that we're living in is filled with negative people. But at the end of the day, we want to get to the place where we say, God, we trust in you, we believe in you, and we know that with you, all things are possible. So one of the things I wanted to kind of pull out of the story is that so many of us on here, we actually have a good trajectory. We actually are given a positive message. And sometimes it feels like people are not listening. And if you're not careful, you may want to opt out to something that's extreme negative, where you're giving people, just a persistent negative message, persistent negative spirit. Or sometimes you want to opt in to just always talk about everything that's good, persistently talking about all the miracles and all the signs and all the wonders. And there are miracle signs and wonders. But we only want to stay there, and we never want to talk about the pain, the challenges, the hurts. But in order to really send a message of hope to people, you have to let people know that God will do miracles for you. But in those instances when miracles don't come, you need to trust in Him in the midst of the pain. And one of the best ways to grow in God is to consider, what areas has God blessed me and I'm strong in, and to be aware of them. But also to consider, what areas, do I have some weakness and I need God to strengthen me? Or sometimes we even need a partner, somebody to help us in certain areas. Because some of us are very, very outgoing and friendly, and we're very good at that. And others are very focused and know how to do paperwork and so forth. And sometimes you're not going to switch your personality and be able to have balance in everything as it relates to things outside of morality. So sometimes you have to partner with people and work with people and grow with people. But one of the main reasons why I had this message today is I wanted to just share with everybody my heart on this, that I'm thankful for this individual, and I'm thankful for the things that he's done, but I'm concerned about his legacy, because I don't believe he was thinking he was going to pass. He was probably just collecting money, doing really, really well. A lot of us who are on YouTube, we're trying to, do well financially, or do well at least with our message in terms of just sending the message to people. But we have to understand that our legacy is bigger than just finances. Our legacy is bigger than just influence. Our legacy is being faithful and being trustworthy with God. Just wanted to read a couple of the comments that are here. Power Prayer Ministry says that, yes, she heard about the situation, and it's a pretty popular situation for today. A lot of people are talking about that for sure. And Wellness with Frugal Mama says, so it sounds like they sought him out for his input, fully aware of his tactics, approach. So perhaps that's the type of delivery they may have needed or desired. And it's true, like people knew what they were getting and they were looking for that and they got it. But the funny thing is, a lot of people, they did not like it when they received it. They probably liked it because they saw other people receiving it. So they thought, oh, maybe we're going to get a different response. But I think that what he was ultimately doing was that he was using the people on his show as an illustration for those that are watching to be careful. Like, men, be careful when you are with a woman and you give her everything you have, and she says, that's all you have to give. When she says that's all you have to give, leave, because the grace of God is not in that relationship. If she had been for you, then the money that you had would be something that you could work together. She would have her job and work her money, and you would work together in partnership. Or she would be able to sustain herself with whatever income that you have, if that's the choice that you want to go. But if they cannot respect you, and if they cannot, and if what you have cannot sustain them, and they need something more, then it's the wrong person. And I think it's the same thing with women. If there's a guy and he's just constantly complaining, he's complaining because he wants you to work, and you don't want to work, and you want to stay at home or whatever, then find somebody else. Or he's complaining because you're working and you're making more money than him. He doesn't like it. He wants you to quit your job. Then find somebody else, because when you're single, you want to be wise in your decisions. You want to find somebody that connects with you. You want to find somebody that you connect with, somebody that when you sit down, you look at them, you say, I respect this person. But at the same time, you want to have an understanding of real life. Like, if you want to have someone who makes $10 million, how many people love God making $10 million? Maybe it's better to find somebody who loves God and that you respect. And then if they're industrious, maybe they will make the $10 million. But it's better to have somebody who connects with you than to have superficial things. Because I'm telling you, for every superficial thing you look for, there's a consequence. And sometimes the consequence is far too much. If a guy's making $10 million, he may not be okay with having one woman. And I would think that if you're a woman and you value yourself and you value who you are as a person, you would never commit to a man who can't commit to you alone. So it's better to find somebody who has those tangible spiritual attributes. And of course, they work hard and they try their best, but someone that you can work with and you can partner with and not with some image, because these images become idols, and these idols will lead to your demise. The same thing for men. Men have these images, and a lot of us men are fortunate to have beautiful wives and to have the wife of your dream. Like a lot of you are fortunate to do that. But I'm saying the wife of your dreams is not just a look. The wife of your dreams is a spirit. It's somebody that you can connect with, someone that you can work with, someone that believes in you, someone that can support you and not constantly criticizing and bickering, someone who sees the world in a similar way to you, to how you see the world. I think it's important for us to understand that, because it's very, very important for us to be aware that one of the most significant things in our life is our legacy. And suffice to say, a lot of times we don't have the opportunity to choose when we leave this world. We might leave tomorrow, we might leave 3 years from now, we might leave 10 years from now. But we always have to be acting and behaving and speaking in a way that when we pass, we can be proud of it. Just wanted to share another comment here. Power of Prayer Ministries says we need to identify weakness and strength in our lives. Powerful point. Is so true. It's so true. And I want to thank His Word. Thank you so much for your donation of £5. I appreciate it. Our ministry appreciates it greatly, and I appreciate all that you do for this ministry. And everyone who's here, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the thumbs up, the likes, and I appreciate just being a part of this conversation and for us to talk with each other. So I just wanted to share a little bit more, and then I wanted to make an announcement just regarding our channel and a great event that's coming up in the near future. But I love this comment from His Word. That's right. Legacy is more important. Legacy is so important. It's more important than popularity, because you see, popularity with a good legacy, great. But popularity with a bad legacy, not good at all. It actually distracts and takes away from your life. It causes every part of your life to have misery to it. As a matter of fact, I'd even go so far that if you have no popularity and you have a bad image, it's not good, but at least no one is following you. It's just you and your life and the few people who know what your problems are, those few critics that you have, and you can just turn it around. But when you're popular and your life is out of order, what happens now is that you have so many hosts of enemies that are around you, and you also don't have the energy and the power of God behind you, because you're depending upon your own worth and your own power and your own strength. Because you don't have the power of God behind you, you have all these things attacking, and it makes life hard. It makes life so hard. We have to be faithful. I agree with Power of Prayer Ministry. We have to be faithful, and His Word says the fear of God and love, forgive wife. That's the key. Yes, because you need to have the fear of God and love. So you need to have the spirit of forgiveness, and it works for wife and husband. But that's what we need. We need to have this fear of God, and then we need to have this great love and respect for the person that God graces us with. And if God hasn't graced us with somebody as yet, we need to begin to build up in our spirit an understanding of the fear of God and love and forgiveness. Because when you love somebody, there's going to have to come a time that you're going to have to forgive them, and there's going to have to come a time where they're going to have to forgive you. I love this comment here. Love alone is not enough. It's so true. Love alone as an emotion is not enough. As a matter of fact, love alone, even as a commitment, is not enough. Because mixed with that love, you need to have forgiveness. Mixed with that love, you need to also have some personal attributes within your own self, and the person that you're with also needs to have some attributes. Some of the personal attributes you need to have is consistency. You need to have the attribute of controlling your emotions. You need to have the attribute of growing, and you need to have somebody else who has the attribute of growing. No one's perfect. I'm not talking about perfect people, but I'm talking about people that are going in the same direction. If you and I are in a car and we're both driving north, no problem. Even if we're tired, even if we don't get along with each other, even if we don't see things eye to eye, if we're both driving north, no problem. But if I'm driving north and you're trying to drive south, even in a road that doesn't have much traffic, it's dangerous. That's because the Bible says, can two walk together except they be agreed? Unity is essential, even on the smallest unit, whether it's unity between husband and wife, or it's unity between parents and children, or it's unity between friends, or it's unity between a church. If we don't come into agreement, and if we don't walk in the spirit of love along with agreement, and have an accountability for our own personal lives, then our legacy is going to be a legacy of destruction. I think I'm talking about Kevin Samuels, talking about Kevin Samuels, but it also makes me reflect just on people that I know. There are some people that I know that they have left amazing legacies in this world. Amazing legacies. My own personal bishop, he passed a while ago, and I love him so much, but he left a legacy. He left something in my heart that made me say that I have to do my best. I have to invest in the kingdom of God. I have to trust in God, because he left such a wonderful example. I said, I have to be an example. And that's the way we have to go. We have to leave an impression on those that are around us, even those who may be quiet around us, but leave an impression upon them to let them see that you can live a great life. You can live a balanced life in this world. But I've also met other people that I've been praying for, that I've been fasting for, that so many people have been praying with and fasting for, popular people. And they have so much anger, they have so much problem in their life. And when they get sick, you're praying not only for the healing, but you're praying that they would, have a purified heart. You're praying that they would change, and they die and they don't change, and they die and they're angry and they're cursing to the point that they leave this earth. And I say, my goodness, you started out so well, but you left a legacy of theft, a legacy of frustration, a legacy of unforgiveness. And what I've discovered is that the best of us, if we don't hold ourselves accountable, we will leave this world and leave behind pain, and leave behind hurt, and leave behind people that are broken, because we did not invest in them what God had put in us to invest. So my encouragement to everyone who's here is to trust in God and to know that God is able to work in your life. Just wanted to welcome Rose. It's wonderful having you here. Hello and God bless. It's wonderful having you here. We're just talking about Kevin Samuels and his passing. And we're talking also about legacy, because he left a legacy in terms of the things that he did. In some sense, it was mixed. A lot of people don't see it as mixed. A lot of people see it as negative. But I think there were some positive things that he did talk about. And one of the great things I liked about him was that he had the ability to pull out the flesh and put it on display for us to look at and for us to critique. The only problem is that when you do it to other people and you don't do it to yourself, it's unfair. And also, when you do that to people and you don't give them a solution, you don't let them know that there's something that can help them, you kind of just leave them to to themselves. I think that's very unfair, and that's very unfortunate. But we're talking also saying that we don't want to just give people one aspect. Correction. Correction is good, but correction needs to also be coupled with empathy. You put correction and empathy together, and that's love. If you don't have love in a relationship, Sister Story, if you don't have correction in a relationship, it's not love. And if you don't have empathy in a relationship, it's not love. You need to have both of them. Now, when you see an error, you need to be able to correct the error with love. When you see something, that's going well, you need to be able to exhort and praise somebody. And so many people are struggling because they have philosophies that are demonic. You know how many Christians I met that say, it's not good to praise people. It's not good to praise people. It's not good to celebrate people. I don't celebrate anybody. You don't celebrate anybody? I don't celebrate anybody. But Jesus, he died for everybody. Like, if Jesus can die for somebody, why can't I say a good word to somebody? And there's an imbalance. Mean people at church, rude people at church, people who are so negative at church. But there are also other people that, are so lovey-dovey, but will never correct you. They'll see you, jog into hell and say, hey, do you want some water? Instead of saying, no, you're going the wrong way, turn around, follow God. Love is such a complicated emotion. It's such a complicated practice. It's such a complicated thought process. Love always wants you to go the right way. Love always wants you to excel. Love will cause you to excel by expressing positive enforcement. Love will cause you to excel by giving strong correction. But at the end of the day, love is always pointing in the direction of God. Love is always pointing in that direction. And I'm so thankful and I am so grateful for God just working in the life of those of us who believe in him. I think it's very important for us to allow God to strengthen us. And a question here that we have: was Kevin Samuel ever married? And the answer is yes. He was actually married. He was actually married 2 times. And the funny thing about it is, he was married 2 times, and I think that he spent so much time observing the flesh and the negativity in other people that I don't think he spent enough time observing it in himself. Because if you examine yourself and you see yourself, you would realize that if you're a relationship expert, or if you're someone who's trying to encourage relationships, you don't judge yourself by your hits. I wouldn't even say you even judge yourself by how many good relationships you put together. I think you judge yourself by how you impact all people, especially those who seem to be destined for failure. If you can encourage someone and help somebody who's destined for failure, then I think that you're effective. But when you're living in a corporate mindset, the only thing that matters is the dollar. When you're in a corporate mindset, the only thing that matters is popularity. When you're in a corporate mindset, you can take statistics and you can bend them and make them mean anything. Because at the end of the day, as one human to another human, I emit a spirit. And that spirit can be the spirit of God. That spirit can be a spirit of love, a spirit of encouragement, a spirit of inspiration, or that spirit can be the spirit of condemnation, brokenness, darkness, evil, the devil. And I think that anytime you break people's spirits over and over on a daily basis, that's not healthy for them, and that's not healthy for you. I just wanted to play a video very quickly because coming up on May the 14th, on Saturday, May the 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be doing a book launch. I'm going to be launching my new book, which is The 5 Benefits of Worship. The 5 Benefits of Worship. And just have a copy here, 5 Benefits of Worship, experiencing the power of God through focus, praise, and worship. We're going to be having a book launch on May the 14th. Would love to invite all of you to be there. Everyone who's here in the live and everybody who is watching the replay, would love to see you on May the 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern, and you can kind of convert it to whatever time zone that you find yourself in. I would love to have you. We're going to spend some time together just celebrating, encouraging one another, and talking about our book. The book is available on Amazon. You can check out our website at NevilleSolomon.com. That's NevilleSolomon.com, NevilleSolomon.com. And you can check out what's going on in our ministry. You can check out what's happening with our book launch. I'm so excited about inspiring people to worship God, inspiring people to be connected to God, inspiring people to be excited about God. And actually, I have another goal that I haven't really talked about. I want to inspire you to write a book, to just figure out a way to get it done. If I can help you, I'll try to help you. But figure out a way and just think about it. Think about writing a book. And if writing is not something that you want to do, think about developing a message, you package specifically to build people, whether that's in worship or whatever field that you feel God's calling you to. But I think that we need to organize as digital ministers. We need to organize ourselves and structure our hearts and our minds to allow God to use us in any capacity that He wants to use us in. So I am encouraging people to write, whether that is a book, whether that's a blog, whether that is just some posts where you send it out to people, or whether that is in video or that is in tape form. I'm just encouraging people to organize their ministry and to send it out, to give it to people and to encourage people, because the way that we transform the world is by using every talent, every gift that God's given to us. There are so many people that love to hear the word. That's why we speak the word. But there's also people that are open to reading the word, and they learn that way. So we want to encourage that. So on May the 14th at 2 p.m. on Saturday, we're going to be having, not this Saturday, but next week Saturday, we're going to be having a celebration. I would love to invite all of you out to that celebration. And we're going to have the line open. So we'd love for you to share a word or prayer if you're up for that. And maybe we can even connect offline and talk about that. But I just want to celebrate that day and encourage people to get a copy of the book, of course, but also to have a fire and a passion to allow the balance of God to be in their life and the unity of God to be in their life, so that we can be like Jesus and we can begin to touch other people and see lives transformed. So I am so encouraged. I'm so thankful. I heard somebody say earlier, as it relates to Kevin Samuels, that just praying that he would rest in peace. I'm praying that God will work in his life, and in the life of his family, because he's no longer with us. So God has already worked in his life as He would see fit, but to work in his family's life and to those that are left, and hopefully out of what has been left, hopefully something can arise and create a legacy that's attached to God instead of just attached to popularity and money. So I'm so thankful for the time that you spent with me. I'm so thankful to see everybody here today. Wasn't really expecting to do a broadcast, but I figured that, this is an important topic, and we're here, so let's talk about it. And I'm so thankful for your contribution and your thoughts. And I'm praying and believing that with God, all things are possible. So I'm going to close off by just playing a video from the internet as it relates to Kevin Samuels, to kind of just give you some more information about it. And then that's it. God bless. So wonderful having you. Check out this video, and I'll see you later. Thanks.
F. Confirmed. Relationship expert dies at 56 years old. Reliable sources confirm that YouTube sensation and relationship guru Kevin Samuels has passed away. Samuels was known for dating advice and thought-provoking YouTube videos where he operated under the title of an image consultant. Rumors regarding his death began circulating on Twitter and other social media outlets earlier this evening, leading to an online battle between Samuels' fans and his critics. Those who have found fellowship in the influencer's ideology accused his many critics of celebrating his death. Kevin Samuels told mediocre women to shoot in their range and to stop looking for high-value men and find men on their own level. Due to this advice, many of those women have wanted Samuels dead for his truthful and honest comments. One user wrote, for example, "A young woman shot back and said, 'I don't believe Kevin Samuels is dead, for the record. But me not feeling bad if he is, doesn't mean I'm celebrating his demise. He went out of his way to be cruel to us women. We are not required to mourn for him and show virtues he didn't show.'" She further accused Samuel and advised that asking black women, of all people, to show grief for his passing is crazy. Further details surrounding his cause of death have yet to be revealed. But there are rumors that he had died from a heart attack in his apartment, and that medical staff found him unresponsive and declared him dead when they arrived on the scene. Many around the world are mourning the passing of a great figure within the black community. Although at times controversial, he did stand up for the rights and the empowerment of black men, a value that many black women have also celebrated concerning Kevin Samuels. Some of his most popular videos include "How much do you cost to submit?" and "Modern women are average at best?" Just recently, he sparked outrage on social media after he said unmarried women who are 35 years old and over are considered leftover women. Kevin Samuels said, "If you live to 35 and you're not married, you're a leftover woman. You're leftover." Wise and high-value men know you may have a problem, he said. Whether you want to hear it or not, I'll go with you. I'm telling you the truth, you don't want to hear. Although Samuels himself was twice divorced with an alleged single status, he never shied away from speaking his mind when it came to relationship topics. Although Samuels was not formally a leader in the church, he had great interest in the role that the church played in the lives of black men and women and encouraged women to follow biblical principles of marriage even if they were not Christian, because he felt that female submission made women more attractive.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching this video.
Have you ever asked yourself the question, what is worship? Or, what does true worship mean? Well, now you can find the answer in this easy-to-read and engaging book titled 5 Benefits of Worship: Experiencing the Power of God Through Focused Praise and Worship. In this book, the author defines what it means to worship God and points you to what true worship looks like. Moreover, authentic Christian worship happens when you focus on God and give Him all the praise. It is through this life-transforming encounter with the greatness of God that people's lives are changed forever. As you, the worshiper, place your trust in the Lord, God responds to you by meeting your deepest needs. Worship is both a personal and public activity that allows you to connect with God. Worship is the point where mortality meets immortality. The mortal transcends from this natural realm into the supernatural realm of God, through which God's glory and power is brought down into the lives of men, which oftentimes invokes the Holy Spirit, manifesting in healings, testimonies, and miracles. This book is focused on worship within the context of praising God in your home and your local church. Despite many churches turning to online methods such as Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom to conduct weekly services, this book was designed to inspire you to connect with God, no matter what situation you find yourself in. The sophisticated yet simple insights contained in this book will help you to grow spiritually. Neville Solomon will take you into dimensions of worship beyond the peripheral knowledge of an average Christian and will challenge you to engage in focused and love-filled worship towards your Creator. This work reviews the 5 major benefits of worship. Namely, 1. Worship as a fragrance. 2. Worship as a teacher. 3. Worship as a weapon. 4. Worship as a medicine. 5. And worship as a family business. I would admonish every Christian wanting to draw closer to God through worship to read and practice the principles of this book. Whether you are a passionate worshiper, a new believer, a pastor, or someone simply seeking to grow in your personal relationship with God, this book is packed with a philosophy that can shoot your life to the next level. It will help you to have an encounter of the revelation and transformation received at the spiritual altar of focused worship.